And hello, fabulous AP students. This is your favorite teacher, Mr. Jacobson. I am excited to be with you today. Today we're going to talk about religious wars and reforms from 1450 to 1750. This is Unit 3 of the AP curriculum, so let us begin. Alright, so after Martin Luther and John Calvin and Henry VIII, after they do their thing, which will weaken the power of the Catholic Church as they fight against it, right? The Catholic Church and the people within Europe are going to have a big problem because we have people who are Protestants and people who are Catholics, Roman Catholics, and they're not going to like each other. There's going to be a natural disliking and distrusting between those two groups. It's going to lead to fighting. Particularly Lutherans and Calvinists are going to fight against the Roman Catholics. And eventually Lutherans and the Roman and Holy Roman Empire are going to start clashing as well. And they're going to fight for a couple of years, and then eventually it's going to lead to the Peace of Augsburg. And that Peace of Augsburg is significant because what it does is it's going to allow each German state or province, if you will, to choose a Catholic or Protestantism as their state religion. So these different areas of the Holy Roman Empire are going to choose, okay, so this area is now going to be Protestant, this area is now going to be Catholic, and if you don't like it, if you're like, well, I want to stay Roman Catholic, and now my whole area is being turned to Protestantism, they could move. So they were free to, take up, sell their house and go into an area that was beneficial to the religion that they wanted. So the Peace of Augsburg is going to happen. It's not a perfect solution, but at least there's some kind of toleration that's beginning to occur between the two groups. You also have followers of John Calvin, the Huguenots. They're going to continue to fight in France. So John Calvin, he actually gets up and moves to Switzerland and retreats over there because he felt like it was too dangerous. However, his followers, the Huguenots, are going to continue to fight and make their voice known in France. And so eventually all that fighting is going to lead to something called the Edict of Nantes. And what that is it's basically France saying, you know what? Fine. We will be tolerant of the Huguenots and the Calvinist faction in France. And it lasted for about 87 years. However, with King Louis XIV, he's not going to be so tolerant. Remember, he looks himself as the Sun King and he thinks very highly of himself. He says, I am the state, right? So revocation of the edict will happen there. That's going to result in a lot of people just getting up and leaving France. So you have people who are being like, screw this, I'm out of here. And so France is going to lose a lot of skilled workers because of the revocation of the edict. And some more things that are happening. So we're going to have the 30 Years' War that's going to occur. Okay, this is kind of the final great religious conflict between the Catholics and the Protestants in Europe. It's going to be from 1618 to 1648. This war is going to involve all the major, I shouldn't say all, but the major European powers that are in Europe. It's going to result in widespread famine, starvation, and disease. Because when you constantly are fighting wars, you're not really caring for the people, and it's going to show. So that would be a problem. However, after the 30 Years' War, there's going to be the Peace of Westphalia, and that's going to occur. And what that mainly means is each area of the Holy Roman Empire is going to be able to choose one of the three religions. And so not just like states or small regions, but larger amounts and portions of the Holy Roman Empire can choose between Roman Catholicism, Lutheran, or Calvinism. And that's going to pretty much do it with the wars going on. I want to talk to you a little bit what's going on in Russia. So Peter the First, again, this guy is really good at solidifying power. Okay, so he's going to do that further by he's going to abolish the position of the patriarch. So in Orthodoxy, the leader of the church is called the patriarch. And so he's going to abolish it, and he's going to create something that's sort of like it, but instead, he's going to make sure that the people who are in charge of the church are chosen by the government who answers to him. Did you get that? So he is, in essence, going to choose who the leaders of the church is. This guy doesn't want to have any division. He doesn't want people to push up against him or back against him. So he's going to then create the Holy Synod, and that's going to be this panel, if you will. If you look at this picture here, here's the Holy Synod, and it's going to be religious leaders for the Orthodox Christian um, faction in Russia. However, it's not separate. The government chooses these people, and the government is beholden to the Tsar, which at this point is Peter the First. So Peter the First really combines his power. For one, he ultimately gets to choose the leaders of the religion for the Russian Empire, and he's also the political leader as well. So he's also going to raise the minimum age to 50 years old for people wanting to become a monk, and that's going to lead many young people to join the military instead. So he'll have a bigger army. And so let's jump over to Islam here. So we have religious schisms happening. Okay, we've talked about the Ottoman Empire, how they're a Sunni empire. Well, they have something called Sharia, and this isn't unique to just the Ottoman Empire, but Sharia is a really important thing we need to understand. It's a strict Islamic law code that deals with all aspects of daily life, such as criminal justice, martial laws, and issues within the Ottoman Empire itself. So, Sharia is going to be implemented throughout the Ottoman Empire. They're not the only ones to really implement Sharia, but it's really important that Islam has its own law code within the religion itself. Now, the Safavid, they're a Shia faction, right? This is a Shia empire or caliphate, and they're going to use Shia Islam to unify the people. They're also going to use that Shia domination as a way to deny legitimacy to any other Sunni leader. So because the leader of the Ottoman Empire is Sunni, that's not the real caliph. The real caliph is a Shia. And so it's going to undercut the Ottoman Empire, which again, it's just going to lead to this constant contention that occurs between the Ottomans and the Safavid. And over here we have, you can kind of see for yourself sort of the ins and outs religion-wise, how they differ. They're all Muslim, but they're all very somewhat different in their own understandings of Islam and the region of which they're also in control of. And so let's talk about the Mughal toleration and prosperity. So Akbar the Great is said to be one of the greatest rulers, especially within the Islamic world. This guy was a big advocate of religious toleration. Remember, he is the ruler of the Mughal Empire that's in India. So he is a Muslim ruler. However, he is ruling over the majority of his subjects are Hindu. So there's a major conflict there. And Hindus and Muslims don't have the greatest relationship through history, especially if you take the Delhi Sultanate into consideration. So we want to really understand that. So Akbar realized, look, if I'm going to rule this place, I have got to be more open-minded. So religious tolerance will be exercised. He's going to try to ease the tensions between the Muslims and the Hindus during this time. He's going to allow Hindus to be in government. He's even going to let them be zamindars, high level, low level zamindars. He's even going to allow these government officials to, who are Hindu to marry Hindu wives. He's gonna try. He'll attempt to try to prohibit child marriages and a practice called sati. And sati is a practice where the widowed wife of a Hindu couple. Okay, so we have a Hindu husband and wife. For some reason, the Hindu husband dies. That the funeral process is they take the husband and they burn his body. They call it a funeral pyre. So we have the body of this husband being burned as part of a cremation kind of uh, process. However, the wife, if she's a good, devoted wife, she will then, as the fire is roaring on over consuming the flesh of her now deceased husband, she will then throw her body onto her husband's body and die in the flames with him. And this practice is called sati, and it was looked upon to be a pretty barbaric practice. We have Akbar the Great that's going to try to do away with it. The British will also try to do away with this, but they're fighting, thousands of years of tradition. So it's very hard to fight a tradition that has that much longevity. So anyway, but sati is this attitude where a good devoted wife will throw herself on the burning flames of her now deceased husband's funeral pyre, if you will, and pyre, and then she will die with him. So anyway, take that for how you want. A religion that does develop though within because of India's interaction with Islam and Hinduism is a religion called Sikhism. And Sikhism is influenced by both Hindu and Islamic mysticism. If you remember, we talked about Sufi or Sufism. So you got the mixture of Hinduism and Sufism, and you kind of combine them, and slowly it makes this monotheistic faith that recognizes the rights of other faiths to exist. And so here we have in the picture here the woman who's committing sati, and then down here we have Guru Nanak, who is the first guru of the Sikhism, which will be a significant religion going forward. And here we have a simple chart looking at the schisms that we've talked about in history. We've talked about the Theravada Mahayana split in Buddhism. We talked about the Sunni Shia split in Islam. We've talked about the Roman Catholics and the Orthodox, if you remember from the Byzantine Empire, right? And now we have the Roman Catholics and the Protestants. And so here are the religious schisms that we've talked about so far in history, and it would be very wise to familiarize with this chart and to lock it away in your brain. And that's pretty much it. So go ahead and write your one-page summary, and we'll talk about this when we return. Thanks. Bye.